A drone filming the rugged coast of Northern Ireland just caught a solid stone pillar opening. It looks like a secret door to a giant's lair has been found.
A massive stone door in the cliffs of Northern Ireland's Giant's Causeway opened for just 11 seconds, revealing total darkness before sealing shut so perfectly that no trace remained. At first, experts thought the footage had to be impossible, but AI-driven scans soon detected something far more disturbing behind the basalt wall. 7 enormous figures standing inside a hidden chamber frozen in time for 60 million years. What began as a geological mystery quickly became a terrifying discovery that challenged history, science, and even humanity's understanding of life on Earth. The Stone Door Discovery. On a seemingly ordinary autumn evening, Kieran Doyle, a Dublin electrician, launched his drone over Northern Ireland's Giant's Causeway, just like countless times before, to capture sweeping views of the rugged coastline. What happened next stunned everyone who saw the footage. The video showed something nobody expected: a massive 20-ton slab of basalt, part of the cliff face itself, slowly swinging open like a gigantic stone door. This opening lasted exactly 11 seconds, revealing pitch-black darkness behind the stone before it closed again flawlessly. The precision was eerie. No cracks, no seams, no hint that anything had moved at all. Doyle almost dismissed the clip, suspecting a glitch or trick of light, but on repeated viewings, shifting shadows inside the hollow space confirmed something was truly there. What defied logic was that this was solid volcanic rock, a formation geologists had studied for 60 years, with no indication that anything beneath the surface could move or open. The Giant's Causeway was thought to be a geological constant, its characteristic hexagonal basalt columns standing firm against time. That evening, however, everything changed. Word spread quickly, bringing a mix of fascination and skepticism. Scientists, researchers, and journalists reached out to Doyle overnight, desperate to know if the footage was real or a sophisticated hoax. Almost immediately, the region saw an influx of experts and intrigued visitors, all drawn by the mystery of the moving rock face. What made this discovery so unsettling wasn't only the door itself, but what was briefly seen in the seconds it stayed ajar. Something, or someone, stepped out from the darkness and then was gone before the stone actually slammed shut. Nobody could quite say what it was that appeared or where it went. That unexplained presence behind the door would end up being the real core of the investigation. The odd part wasn't even the sight at first. It was the way the rock moved. It shifted imperceptibly and resealed with this perfect fit that felt unnatural, like a mechanical exactness. Not something you'd ever get from normal geological work. No landslide, no erosion, no crack or fissure anyone had catalogued there ever behaved like that. The surface smoothness. It suggested a plan or design, which then raised questions about long-ago powers or something like hidden technologies. And Doyle's unexpected clip honestly turned what had been a quiet, natural wonder into this scene of extraordinary mystery. Everyone wanted straight answers, but the more people looked, the more the questions piled on. What made that solid rock move? What was concealed on the other side? And why did it decide to show up now, after all this time. The first jolt was just the start of it. After that, what came next would push against scientific confidence and bring old legends back into the conversation in a very serious way. Doyle's footage wasn't only a strange visual glitch, it felt like a doorway, a passage toward truths nobody had been preparing for. From the stone door's first shift, a new chapter started for the Giant's Causeway, one where myth, science, and things that don't follow explanation collided in ways nobody could have really forecasted. The enigma of the stone door invited a closer look into the myth and science woven into this ancient landscape. The myth and the science. The Giant's Causeway has long been a place where mythology and geology intertwine. Its famous interlocking basalt columns are not only a geological marvel, forming a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but also the centerpiece of a legend about Finn McCool, a mythical Irish giant said to have built the causeway as a bridge to Scotland. For generations, storytellers have woven epic tales of Finn McCool's feats, his battles, and his fantastical role in shaping the landscape. These stories evoke a time when giants roamed the earth. Finn McCool was not a good swimmer, so he used the material that the volcanoes had left behind to build a causeway to Scotland, and he called it the Giant's Causeway. A world vastly different from the modern scientific understanding of Earth's history. These myths imbue the causeway with culture.
A world vastly different from the modern scientific understanding of Earth's history. These myths imbue the causeway with cultural depth, sparking imaginations beyond rocks and lava. Scientifically, the Giant's Causeway formed approximately 60 million years ago during intense volcanic activity. As lava cooled rapidly, it contracted to create the distinct hexagonal basalt columns whose geometry has fascinated scientists worldwide. The site has been extensively studied, revealing insights into volcanic activity, basalt formation, and erosion processes. Decades of geological surveys, ground-penetrating radar, and seismic scans have consistently shown solid basalt extending deeply beneath the surface. No cavities, no chambers, just continuous volcanic rock hardened over millions of years. These findings reinforced the understanding that the Giant's Causeway was a natural formation, static and unchanging beneath its surface. This scientific certainty made Doyle's footage kind of perplexing. You know, how could a massive basalt slab connected to ancient rock move on hinges? And what kind of darkness was sitting behind it if it wasn't solid rock? Like, really? The option of a hidden chamber didn't just challenge things, it directly ran into long-held geological consensus. And that felt strange. For the local community, and also visitors, the footage gave new life to the old legend. Suddenly, Finn McCool's story wasn't only folklore, but appeared linked to a real and still unexplained happening at the site. This mixture of myth and science created a compelling, yet unsettling narrative, pushing skepticism and belief, both at the same time in a way. Geologists then faced the challenge of juggling rigorous scientific methods with this extraordinary observation. Could a natural geological process account for it? Or did this discovery hint at something extraordinary buried beneath the basalt? Something modern science somehow overlooked for centuries, almost on purpose. The overlap of myth and scientific inquiry made experts feel a kind of urgency about examining the stone door and whatever mysterious contents were involved. It felt like a rare chance to rethink what the earth under the causeway might be concealing, and maybe even revise a piece of natural history. At least, that's how it looked. As these questions deepened, the first serious scientific response came with an AI-assisted scan that would forever alter the investigation's course. The results of that first scan would shake the foundations of geology itself. The first AI scan shock. The day after Doyle's footage exploded online, Dr. Sarah Brennan arrived at the Giant's Causeway with one goal: to prove the impossible was only an illusion. She was not a conspiracy hunter, not a myth believer, and definitely not someone who chased viral stories for attention. She was a senior geologist with 15 years of experience studying Antrim's basalt formations, and she knew the causeway's volcanic structure better than almost anyone. To her, the idea of a massive stone door opening inside solid basalt sounded absurd. But the footage had one problem: it looked too real to ignore. So, Dr. Brennan brought advanced ground-penetrating radar, enhanced with AI analysis, to the exact cliff face where Doyle's drone had captured the movement. Her team mapped the coordinates, stabilized the scanning grid, and began pushing signals deep into the basalt wall. At first, everything seemed normal. Dense volcanic rock, no visible opening, no surface fracture, no sign that anything had ever shifted. Then, the AI system detected something that should not have been there. Behind the basalt, buried where every previous survey had shown nothing but solid rock, was a hollow space. The chamber measured roughly 12 feet deep and 26 feet wide. It was clean, defined, and unmistakable. This was not a random crack or a natural pocket caused by erosion. It appeared enclosed, hidden, and impossibly preserved behind a wall that had no entrance, no tunnel, and no visible seam. For Dr. Brennan, the discovery was already alarming. Basalt forms when molten lava cools and hardens. Once it solidifies, it does not simply contain empty rooms behind perfect stone doors. Yet, the scan showed a chamber sealed inside the cliff, as though it had been waiting there for millions of years. Then, the AI-enhanced imaging sharpened. Inside the cavity, 7 vertical shapes appeared. At first, the team thought they were mineral columns, but the system began separating the forms from the surrounding rock, identifying symmetry, spacing, and height. Each figure stood between 7 and 8 feet tall. Each one appeared upright, and most disturbing of all, they were arranged in a deliberate formation, evenly spaced and facing the same direction toward the stone door. No collapse pattern could explain it. No natural formation matched it. The figures were not scattered like debris or twisted by geological pressure. They stood like sentinels. Dr. Brennan stared at the screen in silence. If the chamber had been sealed since the volcanic event that formed the Giant's Causeway around 60 million years ago, then whatever stood inside should not exist. Humans were not there. Civilization was not there. Nothing in accepted history allowed for figures like these to be trapped inside ancient basalt. In that moment, the mystery changed. This was no longer just about a moving stone. It was about something preserved behind it. Something older than history, older than humanity, and maybe older than science was ready to explain. The hollow chamber was no ordinary geological anomaly. What lay within demanded closer examination. 7 mysterious figures. The discovery of the hollow chamber was astonishing by itself, but the real shock came when AI-enhanced imaging revealed 7 tall figures standing upright in the darkness inside that sealed space. Each of these beings measured between 7 and 8 feet tall, arranged in a precise and deliberate formation. They were spaced exactly 4.5 feet apart, all facing the stone door they were sealed behind. This was no random alignment. These figures appeared to be waiting, standing like sentinels for a purpose unknown. What made their presence even more perplexing was how they were preserved. Basalt forms from molten lava cooling at temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Under known geological processes, any organic or fragile material would have been destroyed instantly during the formation of the rock. Yet, these figures were intact and standing, suggesting they must have existed in their positions when the lava cooled and solidified around them. This fact alone rewrites everything we understand about Earth's timeline. Humans, and even mammals as we know them, wouldn't appear on the planet for another 59 million years after that volcanic event. Whatever these 7 figures are, they were already in place long before anything remotely like modern life had evolved. Their origins, form, and function defied logic and biology. The scientific community was forced to confront questions that science had never prepared it for. Were these figures artifacts of some unknown ancient civilization? Biological entities preserved by unexplained mechanisms? Or something else entirely, perhaps from an era lost to history, or even beyond natural history? The mind races with possibilities, none of which fit comfortably into accepted frameworks. Even the local folklore kind of suddenly took on this eerie new light. Like it was there all along, but nobody noticed. Could these beings be tied up with the legends of giants that long fascinated the region? Yeah. Was Finn McCool more than just a myth? Really? And while no ancient text ever mentioned a chamber like this, the whole discovery still suggested that stories might have roots a lot deeper than folks thought before. The formation's deliberate nature. It read to many as intelligence and intention, not accident or random chance. And maybe even a state of waiting. The figures weren't collapsed or broken either. They stood there, poised, almost like they were expecting something to happen. That image hit a lot of researchers as both chilling and majestic. A moment frozen across millions of years, like the landscape just paused and never moved again, hinting at a story far bigger than anyone had imagined. The scientists involved in the early investigations, they had a hard time reconciling their skepticism with the sheer, overwhelming evidence they saw on their screens. It wasn't merely some weird anomaly. These shapes were undeniable, and the implications were huge. Being shoved into a paradigm shift was uneasy, sure, but it felt unavoidable in the end. And then, this revelation brought up big questions about life, time, and the forces that shape our world. Like, what could keep figures preserved so perfectly for so long? Also, what could their presence mean for how we understand history and origins in general? Those questions set the tone for everything after, pushing teams toward more advanced technology and insight. While the investigators were getting ready for a deeper dive into this mystery, another expert showed up with new tools just to shed light on what those figures were made of. And it was about to shock everyone again. The next scan would reveal the true nature of these towering figures, changing the story far beyond what anyone expected. Advanced scans and hollow shells.
The following day, Dr. Ian Gallagher,
a seasoned geophysicist with decades of experience in subsurface imaging, brought high-resolution scanning technology to the site. Known for his calm demeanor and exacting standards, Gallagher approached the investigation with professional skepticism, ready to debunk or confirm whatever lay hidden beneath the basalt cliff. Just 20 minutes into the scan, his composed exterior gave way to something rare, a visible shock. The data on his tablet showed that the 7 mysterious figures were not solid statues or mineral formations. Instead, they were revealed to be hollow shells, thin, fragile outer casings with empty interiors resembling cocoons rather than helid stone. This discovery deepened the mystery beyond geological phenomena. The shell material baffled scientists. It defied classification and material analysis, existing in a state no known organic or synthetic material could survive, especially after being sealed inside molten lava at temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Conventional science did not explain how these structures could remain intact after millions of years. This raised an unsettling question. If these hollow shells once contained organic life, or something living, had that life vanished, or was it still present, concealed within these eerie enclosures? The answer was impossible to determine from scans alone, leaving the possibility open to both awe and dread. Gallagher saved the scan results on encrypted drives, anticipating scrutiny and the possibility of controversy. His findings were shared cautiously with a small circle of colleagues, but quickly drew attention from outside interests, including government agencies. It became clear that this discovery was not only scientifically extraordinary, but also politically sensitive. In response to the growing attention, soon after the scans, official statements show up, downplaying the findings and attributing the imagery to light reflection or equipment error. Those denials clashed pretty starkly with the data and expert testimony, so suspicion of a cover-up started to deepen. Meanwhile, the genuine researchers were under mounting pressure to quiet their work or face professional consequences. As if it was just supposed to stop, the intact nature of these shells, despite exposure to extreme geological forces, suggested something way beyond known natural laws. That preservation hinted at technology, or biology, that basically went past current understanding, maybe ancient, or even extraterrestrial. The Giant's Causeway is one of the most remarkable natural features on the planet, for the simple reason that it doesn't look natural. You've seen the incredibly precise hexagonal columns that appear to be
Si usted es una
man-made.
persona mayor
The
de
scientific
65
community
años
found
y siente
itself
que
on
su
the
memoria
brink
ya
of
no es la
dealing
misma,
with new
que olvida
realms of
nombres,
possibility.
que entra a una
And
habitación y
honestly,
no recuerda para
that
qué,
felt
quiero que
overwhelming.
me escuche con mucha
Now,
atención,
with this
porque lo que le
strange
voy a
physical
revelar hoy
reality
podría
sitting inside the
devolverle
rock,
20 años de
questions
claridad
about the
mental.
origin, the
Hace apenas
purpose,
3 meses,
and any
doña
potential
Carmen entró a mi
activity of the
consultorio
shells
arrastrando los
loomed
pies.
larger than ever.
Me miraba con esos
The
ojos cansados
investigation
que he visto
wasn't
en
just about
cientos de
discovery
pacientes.
anymore. It
Doctora,
became more like a
ya no puedo
quest to
más,
figure out
me
what
dijo.
these shells
Olvido
really
todo.
meant for
Mi familia
humanity's
piensa que
place
estoy
in
perdiendo
history.
la cabeza.
As the
Y ahí
secrets
fue
of the
cuando
hollow
supe que tenía
shells
que compartir
rippled
este
through
secreto
scientific
que ha
circles
transformado
and the
la vida de
public,
tantos
the
pacientes como
implications
ella.
unsettled
Soy
plenty
la
of
doctora
people.
Sofía Ramírez,
Still,
neuróloga
the
con más
story
de
wasn't
25
finished
años
because
tratando a
reactions
personas
behind the
mayores,
scenes
y después de
showed that
décadas
some
observando
folks
el
were
deterioro
eager to
mental en mis
control what the
pacientes,
world would learn
descubrí algo que
next.
cambió
The
completamente
shadow
mi
of a
forma de
cover-up
entender el
began to
envejecimiento.
darken the investigation,
La mayoría de las personas
threatening the
cree
truth
que perder la
behind these
memoria es
mysterious
inevitable,
figures
que es parte
sealed in
natural de
stone.
cumplir años. Pero
the
eso es una
cover-up
mentira.
begins.
Una mentira peligrosa que ha
News of the
condenado a
hollow
millones de
shells
personas
hidden
mayores
inside the
a vivir
giant's
en la
Causeway
neblina mental.
basalt spread
Déjeme
quickly,
contarle algo que lo va
catching
a
the attention
sorprender.
of not
En
just
mi
the
consulta,
scientific
he
community,
visto personas
but
de
government
90
bodies
años
as
con
well.
mentes más ágiles que
Within
muchos de
48
40.
hours of Dr.
¿Sabe cuál
Ian
es la
Gallagher's
diferencia?
report,
No es
encrypted
genética,
emails
no es
and
suerte,
closed-door
es algo mucho
meetings
más
became
simple,
the new
algo que
norm.
cualquier persona puede
An
hacer sentada
environmental
en su silla
agency team
favorita,
arrived
sin
at the site
esfuerzo,
and
sin
issued an
riesgos,
immediate
sin
public
equipos
statement,
especiales, ni
dismissing the
siquiera
drone
necesita
footage
levantarse.
as merely a trick of
Mientras le
light
explicaba
on
esto a
wet
doña
rock,
Carmen,
and
ella me
declaring the
interrumpió.
area completely
Doctora,
normal.
pero yo como sano,
This
me
official
dijo,
dismissal
hago
clashed
crucigramas,
sharply
tomo
with
mis
the
vitaminas,
overwhelming
y ahí
physical
está el
evidence
problema.
gathered by
Lo que
multiple
consideramos
experts,
bueno para el cerebro
including Dr.
muchas
Sarah
veces
Brennan,
no es
who had
suficiente.
originally
Verá,
uncovered the hollow
cuando el
chamber.
cerebro envejece,
Yet
no
she
necesita más
refused to
información,
endorse the
necesita
government's report,
reactivación.
a bold
Necesita que
act given
despertemos
the
las
pressure.
zonas que han estado dormidas
Reading the
por
draft
años.
statement
Don
twice,
Roberto no lo
Brennan
podía creer
simply
cuando le
pushed it
mostré
back
la
across the
diferencia.
table
Su
without
memoria había
signing
mejorado
or
un
commenting,
40% en
and
solo
quietly
3
left.
semanas.
A
Pero lo
clear
más sorprendente
sign of her
es que el
dissent.
secreto estaba en sus pies.
That evening,
Sí,
alone
así
in her
como lo
office
escucha,
at Queen's
en los dedos
University,
de sus pies.
Belfast, Brennan
Resulta que
stared
existe
at her
una
sonar
conexión
data,
directa entre los
the hollow
movimientos de los
chamber,
pies y el
the
cerebelo,
seven tall
esa parte del
figures.
cerebro que controla
Unable
no
to
solo el
ignore what she
equilibrio,
had seen,
sino también la
she
memoria
typed a
y la
brief
atención.
but haunting
Y esto me
email
lleva al
to her
punto crucial de
colleagues.
lo que quiero
Its
compartir con
final
usted hoy.
line read,
Son 5
"I
ejercicios
have seen
simples que
enough."
toman exactamente un
3
minuto.
words that
Un
captured
minuto
her
que puede
scientific
cambiar el
and
resto de su vida.
emotional surrender
Porque
to
mientras
the
usted está ahí
inexplicable.
sentado
Despite her
pensando que ya
resignation
es
from the
tarde,
official
que su cerebro
investigation,
ya no da para más,
Brennan continued
hay
to
personas de su
compile
edad
detailed
recuperando su
findings.
claridad mental con estos
Over subsequent
movimientos.
months,
Si
she
esto le está
submitted
resultando
peer-reviewed
revelador,
papers to
espere
Ireland's
escuchar lo que
Geological Review
viene.
Board,
Y por cierto,
only to have
si
them
conoce a
outright
alguien que
rejected
necesita escuchar
without
esto,
substantive
compártale
scientific
este video.
debate.
Podría cambiarle la vida
Instead,
como se la cambió
her
a doña
work was
Carmen.
dismissed
Porque lo
due
que
to
voy a
supposed
revelarle ahora
faulty
es el
equipment
resultado
and
de
flawed
décadas de
methodology.
investigación, de miles de
Behind
pacientes
this
tratados,
rejection,
de ver
somehow a
transformaciones
more
que parecían
troubling motive
imposibles.
came up in
¿Lo
private
ve?
talks,
No es su edad,
the kind you
nunca
only
fue su
get
edad.
when
Es
people
la
think
falta de
nobody is
estimulación
listening.
correcta. Es dejar que el
A
cerebro
board
se
member
apague
speaking off
lentamente.
the record on a
Doña
burner
Carmen lo
phone
entendió en 2
told
semanas.
Brennan that if
2
he
semanas fueron
revealed
suficientes para
biological
que su
heat
hija me llamara
signatures
llorando de
and
alegría.
those rhythmic
Mamá
pulses
volvió,
inside
me
ancient
dijo.
basalt,
Está recordando
it
historias
would
de mi infancia.
split
Está
established
participando en las
scientific
conversaciones.
paradigms.
Es como si
He
hubiera
said such a
rejuvenecido
disclosure
20 años.
would basically make
Pero aquí viene
everyone
lo más
rewrite
importante.
history textbooks,
El deterioro mental
mess
no
with
llega de
evolutionary
golpe.
timelines,
Es silencioso,
and flip
progresivo.
what people assumed
Comienza con
about
pequeñas
intelligence
señales que
on Earth.
ignoramos. Te cuesta encontrar una
Not long
palabra.
after,
Olvidas
the
por qué
cliffs
entraste a
around the
una
site were
habitación.
fenced in
Te
with
cuesta
heavy
seguir una
steel
conversación
barriers
larga.
and
Sientes que
harsh-looking
ya no
warning
piensas con la
signs,
misma agilidad de
usually
antes.
for coastal
Tal vez lo
erosion
atribuyes al
and
estrés,
falling rock
al cansancio.
hazards.
Pero en realidad
At first,
es tu cerebro
the
enviando
public
señales de
explanation
fatiga.
sounded clean,
Estábamos en la cocina
but
de Don
those who
Miguel
had tracked
con
the
olor a
numbers
café recién
knew
hecho,
better.
cuando me
The
mostró su
real
diario.
intent
Ahí
was to
registraba
lock
todos
away
sus
the
olvidos.
truth.
Doctora, mire,
Access got
ayer
cut
olvidé
off
el nombre de mi
fast,
nieto.
like
Hoy no
abruptly,
recordé dónde dejé las llaves.
silencing
Y
any
mientras
additional
más
digging
anotaba,
and
más se
keeping the
deprimía.
official story
Pero le
steady.
dije algo que cambió su perspectiva.
Researchers who had
Don
been on
Miguel,
site felt
su
the
cerebro
pressure
no está
tighten.
roto, solo está
A
dormido
lot
y
worried
lo
about their
podemos despertar.
careers and were
Con el
given
paso del
direct
tiempo, sin
instructions
una
to
estimulación
stay
adecuada,
quiet.
ciertas
No
zonas del cerebro
interviews,
comienzan a
no
desconectarse.
publications,
El
no
hipocampo,
talking on
encargado
social
de la
media,
memoria, se
not
ralentiza.
even a little.
El cerebelo pierde su función de
Still,
coordinación y
a handful
equilibrio.
of scientists,
La circulación
including
hacia el
Brennan and
cerebro
Gallagher,
disminuye poco a
kept
poco.
copies of their
Es
data
como una
stored
planta que deja de
offline.
recibir agua.
They were
No se
stubborn
muera de
about it,
inmediato, pero
determined to
comienza
keep
a
hold of what
marchitarse
they had
desde
found,
adentro.
even
Pero la
while
buena
the scrutiny
noticia,
kept
y
piling
esto es lo
up.
que quiero que entienda, es que así
This
como una
whole
planta
official
puede volver a
suppression
florecer con el
left a
riego
heavy
correcto,
stain
el
across the
cerebro también puede
investigation.
reactivarse.
What
Solo
exactly was
necesita
so
un estímulo
dangerous
específico y
or so
constante.
disruptive
Y no
that
estamos hablando
authorities
de
would
horas de
go this
entrenamiento
far to
ni de
bury it?
técnicas complejas,
That
solo de
question
un
just
minuto al día.
Déjenme enseñarle el
lingered,
primer ejercicio.
adding a grim
Puede
weight
parecer
to the
extraño,
mystery
pero tiene
hiding
una base
behind the stone
neurológica
door.
poderosa. Son los
In
movimientos
public,
de los dedos
it
de
went
los pies.
quiet, but
Sí,
in private
ya sé lo que está
conversations,
pensando.
the tension
Los
stayed
pies?
alive and
¿Qué
kept
tienen que ver
growing,
con mi memoria?
especially once more,
Pues resulta que los dedos de los
scans
pies
hinted
están
that the
conectados
chamber's
directamente
contents
con
were
el cerebelo.
changing in
Al
ways
moverlos de
nobody
forma consciente se
expected.
despiertan. Vías
The mystery
neuronales que han
deepened
estado
when a
inactivas
follow-up
durante
scan
años.
revealed that one
Dun
of those
Ramón
7
García, de
towering
75
figures
años,
had
llegó a mi
simply
consulta
vanished.
tambaleándose. Tenía
The
miedo de
vanishing
salir solo.
figure
Sus piernas
Just
no eran
4
débiles,
days after
pero su
her
cerebro
original scan,
había perdido la
Dr.
conexión
Sarah
con su
Brennan
cuerpo.
returned to the
Le
site
propuse
to
este
conduct a
ejercicio simple,
comparative pass,
mover los dedos
hoping
de
to
los pies
confirm
cada
her
día
initial
durante un
findings,
minuto.
or better yet,
Al principio se
find
rió.
an explanation that
Mover
could
los dedos del
unseat the
pie me va a
growing
ayudar con la
enigma.
memoria, me preguntó.
Weathered and
Pero
determined,
accedió a
she
intentarlo.
recalibrated her
El ejercicio
ground-penetrating
consiste en
radar
sentarse en
and
una
focused
silla cómoda,
again on the
levantar los
sealed
dedos de
chamber
ambos
behind
pies
the
al mismo
basalt
tiempo
slab that
y
moved like a
mantenerlos
door.
arriba durante 5 segundos.
What she
Luego
saw
bajarlos
next
y
froze
presionar
her in
fuerte contra el
place.
suelo otros 5
One of the
segundos.
7 figures that had stood
Después,
resolutely
masajear
before
el suelo con las
was
puntas
no
de los
longer
dedos
there.
por 10 segundos más.
Out of the original
Y
7,
finalmente,
only
abrir y
6
cerrar los
remained.
dedos durante 10 segundos
This
adicionales.
disappearance defied
En total,
all explanation.
30 segundos.
No cracks,
Si
no
se repite
debris,
2 veces,
no new
se completa el
openings,
minuto.
and no signs of
Después
disturbance
de
on the
15
rock
días,
face.
don Ramón regresó
It
y
was
me
as
dijo,
if the figure had
Doctora,
simply
ahora camino
walked
más
through
firme,
solid basalt
ya no necesito
and
apoyarme tanto.
disappeared into
Y lo
an
más curioso
unseen
es
world
que siento mi
beyond.
mente más clara, como si
Kieran
hubiera más
Doyle
luz
had
dentro de
mounted
mí.
a motion-activated
Un
camera
estudio
the day
realizado por
after
la
his drone
Universidad de
footage
Tokio
went viral,
confirmó lo que don
pointing
Ramón
it directly at
experimentó.
the rock door for
Personas
24
mayores
hours
que
a day,
practicaron este
every
ejercicio
day
durante
for
3
those 4
semanas
days.
mejoraron
Despite this
significativamente su
constant
equilibrio,
watch,
su
no
coordinación y
movement was
también su
detected on the
memoria.
exterior.
Y esto
No
me lleva al
tremors,
segundo
shifts,
ejercicio,
or
uno de los
vibrations.
más importantes,
The
porque
massive
actúa sobre un
stone door
problema que
remained
muchas
sealed
veces pasa
tightly,
desapercibido,
without so
la
much
mala
as a
circulación
hint
hacia el
that it
cerebro.
had
Cuando la
budged.
sangre no fluye adecuadamente,
Yet
el oxígeno y
inside
los
that
nutrientes
sealed
que el cerebro
chamber,
necesita
one
no
of the
llegan en
7,
cantidad suficiente.
described by
¿Y cuál
researchers
es
as
el
a
resultado?
7-foot-tall
Una mente
figure,
más lenta, más nublada,
vanished
menos
without a
alerta.
trace.
Lo
No
que descubrí
dust,
después
no
fue aún
fallen
más revelador.
stones, no
El cuello
cracks.
funciona como un puente
Nothing
crucial entre el cuerpo y el
explained the
cerebro.
disappearance.
Si ese puente se
This
tensa o
event
se
left
endurece por el
scientists
estrés,
perplexed
por una
and
mala
deeply
postura o por la
unsettled.
falta de movimiento,
They had
se
theorized
estrecha el
about the
paso de la
chamber's
sangre.
contents for months,
Es como doblar una
but this
manguera.
vanishing
El agua deja de fluir
defied
con
fallible
normalidad.
human understanding
Mientras trataba a
and
doña Isabel de
all
Guadalajara,
known
ella me
natural
confesó
laws.
algo.
The
Doctora,
remaining 6
siento mi
figures
cabeza
didn't
pesada todo el
scatter
día,
or
como si
react,
tuviera una
not
nube
in any
dentro.
visible way.
Y cuando examiné su
just
cuello,
kept
estaba
in
tan
almost,
rígido que
like they
apenas
were
podía
holding a
moverlo.
silent vigil.
Le enseñé este
And it
ejercicio de
all felt
movimientos suaves
somehow
del cuello.
the absence
Se
of their
realiza sentado
companion
con la espalda
didn't
recta
even
y los hombros
register.
relajados.
That
Solo hay que girar
composed
lentamente la
stillness.
cabeza hacia la derecha
It was
hasta
too
donde se
steady,
sienta cómodo
too
y sin
calm,
forzar. Luego
like they
volver
were
al
aware
centro
of
y hacer lo
something,
mismo hacia la
or they
izquierda.
accepted it, as if the
Después,
departure was
eleva la mirada
expected,
como si se
or
quisiera ver
maybe
el
even
cielo y se
part of a
mantiene por unos
process that
segundos.
humans can't quite map in their
Finalmente,
minds.
se baja la cabeza
The
suavemente,
implications,
acercando el
honestly,
mentón hacia el
they were
pecho.
staggering.
Todo esto
Could
realizado
these
con calma y
figures be
atención
alive
toma
in
solo
some
30
real
segundos.
sense? Were
Doña
they
Isabel
vessels,
me llamó a las 2 semanas.
dormant beings,
Doctora, es
or something
increíble.
else entirely?
Esa sensación de pesadez.
Something that doesn't
Puedo
quite
pensar
fit
con
the
más claridad.
categories we use.
Hasta mi hija notó que
Then
hablo
what
más
did that
fluido.
mysterious departure
Y es que
actually
cuando
mean?
desbloqueamos ese puente,
If
la
one
sangre
can
fluye,
vanish without
el
a
oxígeno
trace,
llega y el
What
cerebro
exactly
responde.
awaited the rest
Pero
of them?
espere, porque el tercer
Scientists and other
ejercicio es sin
observers
duda
started to
uno de
see
los
it
más
differently.
sorprendentes.
They
Y
weren't
aunque al
just looking at
principio puede
inert
parecer
geological
extraño,
relics,
sus efectos han
but
sido
phenomena
documentados.
that pushed past
Se
the
trata de
usual
mover la lengua de
boundaries,
forma específica
the ones
para
between
activar
life,
áreas cerebrales
time,
relacionadas
and
con el
space.
lenguaje, la memoria verbal
The
y
chamber
la
no longer
agilidad
felt
mental.
like a sealed tomb.
Don Carlos me miraba
It felt
escéptico cuando
more
se lo
like an
expliqué.
active,
La
evolving
lengua,
mystery
doctora.
that keeps
En
adjusting its
serio,
own rules.
pero cuando le conté que la lengua está
Some
llena de
researchers admitted this
terminaciones
only
nerviosas
privately,
conectadas
after long
directamente
nights
con
when
el
they
cerebro,
couldn't sleep.
que cada
They kept
movimiento
thinking about
consciente
the vanishing
envía
figure
señales
and about
intensas
the
al área
unknown
que regula el
fate of the
habla,
one
la
who
comprensión
left
y el
so
recuerdo.
quietly
Su
into the
expresión
unseen.
cambió. Vi cómo
And
sus
now
ojos
that
se
the
llenaban
vanished
de
one might
esperanza
be roaming
cuando le
free
mostré el
somewhere,
ejercicio.
the remaining
Sentado con la
6
espalda
seemed to
recta y
creep
la boca
nearer,
ligeramente
inching
abierta,
toward the
se saca
stone
la lengua
door like they
todo
were
lo que se
staging the
pueda
next
y se
moment,
mantiene así durante
whatever
unos
that may be.
segundos. Luego se
The
lleva hacia el
chilling
lado
reality
derecho,
of
como si
change
se
inside
quisiera
the
tocar la
chamber was a
mejilla,
stark
y después
reminder.
hacia el lado izquierdo.
This was
A
not an
continuación,
ancient
se
secret
presiona
locked
la
away
lengua contra el
forever.
paladar durante algunos
Something was
segundos,
stirring,
alternando
and
entre
it was
presión
moving
y
toward the
relajación.
world
Y por
outside.
último, se hace girar la lengua en
The
círculos
warming
dentro de la boca,
heartbeats.
primero en una
In
dirección
the
y
weeks
luego en
following the
otra.
discovery,
En
The
total,
team brought in
todo
Dr.
este
Neil
movimiento toma
Callahan, a
aproximadamente
thermal
30
imaging
segundos.
specialist from
Si se
University
repite
College
dos veces,
Dublin,
se
to
completa el
probe
minuto.
deeper
Don
into the
Carlos,
sealed
Que había
chamber's
estado
secrets.
luchando para encontrar palabras que
Equipped
se
with
quedaba a media
state-of-the-art
frase
thermal
porque no
cameras,
recordaba lo que iba a
Callahan's goal
decir,
was to detect
empezó
any
a notar
natural
cambios.
volcanic heat sources or
Doctor,
underground water channels
Ayer mantuve
that
una
might
conversación
explain the
completa
unusual
con mi nieto
findings.
sobre su escuela.
What she encountered
Recordé nombres de
was
sus
far
compañeros.
beyond any
Hasta le conté una
expectation.
historia de cuando yo era niño.
Pointing her camera at the
Hacía
exact
meses que
location
no
of the
podía
hidden
hacer
chamber,
eso.
Dr. Callahan was
Y es que
shocked
este
to
ejercicio
see the
es
thermal
especialmente
images
útil
flood
para
with
quienes sienten que
intense heat
últimamente se
signatures.
les enredan las palabras,
6
que no
distinct
encuentran
heat
los términos
sources
correctos al
corresponded
hablar.
precisely to the
Imagínese
remaining
por un
figures
momento
inside the
que su
chamber.
cerebro es como una
Each
casa con
radiated
muchas
warmth
habitaciones.
close to 99
Con los
degrees
años,
Fahrenheit,
algunas puertas
the
se van
core
cerrando,
temperature of a
algunos
healthy,
cuartos quedan
living
oscuras.
human being.
Pero con estos
The rock
ejercicios
surrounding
estamos
them, by
abriendo
contrast,
ventanas,
was
encendiendo
cold and
luces,
damp,
reconectando
typical of
espacios
the
que
Irish
parecían
coastal
perdidos.
climate.
Y ahora
This
viene algo que
presented
muy
a
poca gente
fundamental
conoce.
contradiction.
El cuarto
The Giant's
ejercicio,
Causeway
que
was
involucra
formed
las
around
orejas.
60 million
Sí,
years ago
las
during
orejas.
volcanic eruptions,
Resulta que
long
no solo
before
sirven para
mammals
escuchar,
or humans
sino que en su
existed.
interior se encuentra uno de
Geologists,
los
however,
sistemas más
say the
importantes
columns were
para el
formed
equilibrio,
some
la
50 to
orientación
60
y el
million years
estado de
ago
alerta
as
del
the
cuerpo.
result of the outpouring
Están
of volcanic
conectadas
basalt.
directamente con el tronco
The
encefálico.
basalt should have been a cold,
Doña María de
lifeless
Monterrey
mass for
llegó con
millions
mareos
of years,
constantes.
and any
No
heat
podía
generated
caminar sin
by its
agarrarse de
formation
algo.
should have long
Su familia
since
estaba
dissipated.
preocupada porque había tenido
Yet,
varias
here were
caídas.
signs of
Cuando le
living
enseñé el
warmth
masaje de orejas,
sealed inside
pensó que estaba
stone,
bromeando,
a
pero le
defiance
expliqué
of
que cuando
physics
esta
and
zona se
biology
estimula
alike.
correctamente, ocurren cambios
Callahan
visibles,
recalibrated
mejora
the
la
equipment
coordinación,
multiple times,
disminuyen los
changed
mareos,
batteries,
se
and
agudiza la
ran her
audición y
scans
la
from
mente
different
se aclara.
angles, all
El ejercicio
yielding the
consiste en
same
sentarse
result.
relajado y sujetar
The heat
ambas orejas
was
con las manos.
consistent,
Primero, se
unmistakable,
tira suavemente de
and
ellas hacia arriba
human-like
y
in
se
its
mantiene la
signature.
posición por unos segundos.
She even borrowed a
Luego,
second
se
unit
repite el
from a colleague's
movimiento hacia
kit,
los lados,
which
también con
confirmed her
suavidad y
terrifying
después
discovery.
hacia abajo.
Finalmente se masajean con
Skeptical,
pequeños
she half
movimientos
expected the
circulares,
team to be
Como si
playing
se
a prank,
estuviera dibujando un
but the
círculo
grave
con los
looks
dedos
on her
alrededor
peers'
de ellas.
faces soon made
En
it
apenas
painfully
30
clear
segundos,
no
se
joke
puede
was
sentir
being
cómo las
played.
orejas se calientan, el
Adding to the
rostro se
mystery,
relaja y la
vibration
mente
sensors
comienza a
installed along the
despejarse.
rock face picked up
Doña
a
María
rhythmic
no
pulse
podía creerlo
behind the
cuando a las
basalt,
3 semanas caminaba
a
por mi
slow,
consultorio
steady
sin
beat,
ayuda.
repeating every
Doctora,
4 seconds.
los mareos desaparecieron.
One senior
Puedo ir al
researcher
mercado
admitted the
sola otra vez.
pattern was
Mi familia está
indistinguishable from a
asombrada,
heartbeat.
pero lo más poderoso viene
6
ahora.
heartbeats
Porque
beating
puedes
in
hacer
unison,
cada ejercicio
deep
por separado
inside
o,
solid rock.
y esto es lo que realmente
These
marca la
biological
diferencia,
signatures
puedes
challenged
combinarlos
everything
todos
the
en
team
una
thought
secuencia
possible about
integrada
the figures
que dura
and the chamber
exactamente
itself.
un minuto.
More
Es como
alarmingly,
dirigir una
follow-up
orquesta.
scans showed
Cuando
the
todos
6
los
entities
instrumentos
were
suenan
not
juntos,
stationary.
la música se
They shifted
transforma.
positions gradually,
Recuerdo a
moving
doña Carmen
inches
López,
at a
de
time,
80 años.
clustering a bit,
Cuando llegó por
then
primera
edging
vez,
closer
su
to the
memoria
sealed
estaba muy
door.
deteriorada.
The
Hablaba
movement was
despacio,
subtle,
se
barely
tambaleaba al
perceptible,
caminar,
but
no encontraba
consistent
las palabras.
and
Su
directional,
cuello apenas podía
like a
moverse.
shared
Tenía
purpose to
todos los
reach the
síntomas
exit.
a la vez.
The
Me
earlier
miró con
military
desconfianza
formation,
y me
the
dijo,
one everyone pointed
doctora,
to, was
¿de verdad
slowly
tengo que hacer
breaking
todo
down,
eso? Suena
replaced by
muy
a tighter
complicado para
gathering,
mí y la entiendo
almost focused
perfectamente.
in one place.
5 ejercicios
The
diferentes
team
pueden parecer
overlaid multiple
abrumadores,
scans into a
pero cuando le
composite
mostré
map,
que podía darlos
revealing a
todos en
clear
un solo
route
minuto
traced
sentada,
by the 6 figures
cómodamente y sin
toward the
esfuerzo,
stone doorway.
algo en su expresión cambió.
Researchers kind of
Empezó
froze
con
into
dudas, pero
silence
decidió
because they
intentarlo.
realized
Le mostré
these
la
ancient
rutina paso
beings,
a paso.
locked away since
Sentada,
before
comenzó
mammals
moviendo
roamed
los
the
dedos de los
earth,
pies arriba y
now
abajo
awakening,
mientras giraba lentamente
slowly
el
but
cuello de lado
surely,
a lado.
approaching
Luego,
freedom.
abrió y cerró los dedos de los
The
pies
implications
mientras
of their
movía el
imminent
cuello de arriba
emergence
hacia abajo.
sent chills through
Después,
everyone
sacó la
present.
lengua mientras
Not in
estiraba
a dramatic
suavemente
way at
las orejas
first,
hacia arriba.
but in that
Movió la
lingering,
lengua de un lado
hard
al
to
otro
explain
mientras
way.
estiraba las orejas hacia los
Interestingly,
lados.
the
Presionó la
thermal
lengua contra el
readings
paladar
fluctuated
mientras tiraba de las
unpredictably.
orejas hacia abajo
Sometimes they
y
spiked above
finalmente
100
giró la
degrees
lengua dentro de
Fahrenheit,
la boca
then
mientras
settled back
masajeaba
down to
las orejas con
99.
movimientos circulares.
Those shifts didn't line up
Todo
with
con suavidad,
obvious external
sin prisa,
influences like
solo un
weather
minuto.
patterns, tidal shifts,
A las 3
lunar
mañana
phases
volvió al
or seismic
consultorio.
activity.
Entró caminando
Instead,
firme,
The
hablando con
variations
claridad,
looked like they
con
were
una
coming from
sonrisa que no la había
within,
visto antes.
like
Me
signs that
dijo,
whatever was inside
doctora,
was
no lo va a
alive,
creer,
and
Ayer
responding to
recordé el
some
número de
unknown
teléfono de una amiga
stimulus.
que no veía desde hace 20
Across
años
the
y
world,
llamé.
over a million
Hablamos por una hora.
tourists visit the
Mi
Giant's
hija dice
Causeway
que
every
parezco otra
year,
persona. Y ese
unaware
es el
that
poder
just
de
a
activar
few
todo
dozen
tu
feet
cerebro a la
beneath
vez.
the black basalt,
Porque cuando se estimula de forma
warm,
completa, el cuerpo
pulsing
responde,
entities
la memoria se
are
ilumina
inching toward a
y la vida
stone
se siente
door
más clara.
that once
Pero
opened
espere, porque hay 3
revealed
secretos que
something
pueden
out of
hacer que los
legend.
resultados lleguen aún más
The
rápido.
Giant's Causeway
El primer
holds
secreto
an
es algo muy
ancient
simple:
secret,
beber un
sealed
vaso
in
de agua
basalt,
antes de comenzar.
where 7
Tal vez no lo
mysterious
sabías,
figures stood
pero el
locked away
80%
for
de nuestro
millions
cerebro
of
está
years.
compuesto por agua.
And
Cuando
now,
estamos bien
with one
hidratados,
vanished
las
and
conexiones
6
neuronales
stirring,
funcionan mejor,
the
la
world
circulación se optimiza
watches.
y los efectos del
This
ejercicio se
story challenges
multiplican.
what we know about life,
Un solo vaso,
history,
unos
and
minutos
time
antes,
itself.
puede marcar la diferencia
If this
entre un
sparked your
resultado
curiosity,
leve y una
don't
mejora
forget to like
profunda.
this video.
Don
Subscribe
Fernando
for
me
more
lo
deep
confirmó,
dives into
doctora.
the unknown,
Desde que tomo
and
agua
watch the
antes de los
next video
ejercicios,
shown on the screen,
siento como si mi mente
because
se
the next
encendiera más
mystery may
rápido.
reveal something
Es como la
even more
diferencia entre arrancar
impossible.
un